let's get into this before we bring our guest on. Charlie Munger, rest in peace to Charlie Munger,
rest in peace,
who passed away. Longtime partner of Warren Buffett. So, in light of passing of Charlie Munger, what are some 5 lessons that you've learned and adopted from him?
Number one, to be extremely honest in a world of deception. Regardless of what you thought about Charlie, he was always incredibly honest in his approach on investing, life, and business. Number 2, this one I took to heart. The big money is in waiting, not in the buying and selling. We'll talk about it tonight. As much fear has been reported all year. S&P is up 20% for the year almost. The NASDAQ has won 5 weeks in a row. There's no big crash coming. The economy is having a tough time, but the longer you hold your positions, the better. Number 3, spend a little bit of time being wiser than you were the previous day. This is why I always preach the reading, learning, soaking up information, because you want to try to push to be 1% better every day. And over time, you'll be able to pass up a lot of your competition. The first 100,000 that you make is going to be the hardest, and it's going to be a bitch. But once you get to that 100,000 and deploy it, life will get a lot smoother. That is very true. And a great business at a fair price is much better than a fair business at a great price. Buy the best companies on earth, buy them at a great price, hold them for a long term, and you'll be good. You can argue almost Charlie may have been better than Warren at investing, and he helped shape Warren's philosophy on buy businesses. So I want to say rest in peace to Charlie. That was, I mean, I know he was 99, but it was like, it's always tough when a legend dies. Sing your prayers to Warren, because I mean, this has been his buddy forever. I can only imagine the pain that he's going through. So rest in peace to Charlie. But what about you two? What are like some great lessons you've taken from Charlie?
I got five. So I know you're going to do the lessons, so I put my 5 favorite quotes, and they kind of like life lessons in themselves. So my first one was, to get what you want, you have to deserve what you want.
That's
the world is not yet crazy enough place to reward a whole bunch of undeserving people. So this is kind of like the
powerful.
Yeah, I mean, it's the premise for what we do, right? Like when we say everything's earned, like, yeah, everything that you see is deserved, right? Because we've earned it, we worked hard, and the world will reward you as such. So that was a dope one to me. I got, remember that reputation and integrity are your most valuable assets and can be lost in a heartbeat. Number 3 might be my favorite. And you'll probably love this one too. Mimicking the herd invites regression to the mean, merely average performance, right? So like, right, the person that is creative and the person that's always originating, they stand out. Whereas the person who's copying and continuously trying to imitate, all they're doing is making themselves more and more average. That was a dope one. This one was dope too. Invest in a business any fool can run, right? So most people like, what should I invest in a business any fool can run, because someday a fool will.
That's a great point.
If it won't stand a little mismanagement, it's not a great business. And the last one, and this is like a life lesson for sure, those who keep learning will keep rising in life. And so shout out to everybody that's here tonight. I mean, those are words to live by, right? Every time we get to learn, every time we get more information, we get to share it. That helps us grow as people. That helps us grow our level of intelligence, but it helps us spread information that probably people hadn't heard, or definitely hadn't heard in a way that was being expressed. So keep learning so you can shed more information to help everybody grow.
Yeah, the biggest thing, the most insightful thing that I've ever heard him say was, never sell something that you wouldn't buy. And
that's a great one.
Yeah, it is. And it speaks to a lack of code of ethics from a variety of different people. And yeah, if you internalize that, if you really think about that, you might not fully understand it just on face value. But if you think about it, that's like one of life's golden rules. Never sell something that you wouldn't buy. Right. And that's something that I think when you're trying to make $1, if you're trying to, cheat your customers, it's going to come back to you eventually. So if the product isn't good enough for you to buy, then why would you sell it to somebody else?
It's a great point, and we would have avoided some scandals throughout these last 4 or 5 years, if people would have stood on that. 2024 is going to be real interesting. It's going to be the year of explosion. Shout out to all my numerology people, astrology people, and Mercury retrograde is coming up in a couple weeks. Get your affairs in order.
444.
Get your affairs in order.
The 444 album.
Big facts.
Legendary.
Tighten up.
Happy birthday to Hove.
Shout out to Blue Pill. Yeah, happy birthday to Hove.
Happy birthday, yeah, to Hove. Yep.
Yeah.
So before we bring Chris on, how do you think this will affect Berkshire Hathaway?
I don't think it will. Yeah, I don't think it will affect it at all. I think they've done a great job of succession planning. If Warren passes, that would be another thing. But I think the succession plan is great. But when you lose the icon like that, it does have an impact on culture. I think overall they've run that business so well, and they have such a great team in place. I'm not too much worried about the valuation of the business. What I'm worried about is it was with his passing, and then whenever Warren passes, I hope it's not for another 15 years. We may not have anyone that is incredibly honest about the state of affairs in the country and in investing. So those are my two biggest concerns with potentially of his passing.
Yeah,
but the stock could be fine. The shareholders are great. The companies are great. They'll be fine.
Yeah, and if you look at what they're invested in, I mean, you're talking about 40% of the company is made its wealth in Apple, which we can see is, has the largest market cap in American history. So, I mean,
they'll be fine.
They'll be fine. But yeah, I mean, he's 99 years old. Warren's 93. So I'm sure the succession plan has been in place for years.
For a while.
And I'm sure that they're, even now with this passing, it's like, okay, now we have to make sure that the succession plan is revisited and tightened to a point that we can now sustain the dominance that they've had over the past 60 years. 60 years of investment. It's incredible.
Yeah. To my folks on Omaha, if y'all need some help,
holla at your boy.
how many times? We know a few people, myself included.